Hello everyone, we're now on chapter 10. A few more adventures. Everyone was very pleased to be in the plane because they thought they could fly away from the land of dreams. After a second or two, Beth leaned over the side of the plane to see how high they were from the ground, and she gave a loud cry. "What's the matter?" said Joe. "Joe, this isn't a plane after all," said Beth in astonishment. "It's a bus, and we're sitting on seats at the top of the bus." "Well, I did think it was a plane." Aren't we flying then?" said Joe. "No, we're just running along the road," said Frannie. Everyone was silent. They were so disappointed. But then a curious noise was heard. Splishy splash, splash, splash. The children looked over the side of the bus and they all gave a shout of amazement. "Joe, look, the bus is running on water, but it isn't a bus anymore. Look, it's got a sail." Everyone looked upwards, and there, billowing in the wind, was a great white sail. And Joe was now steering with a tiller instead of with a handle of a wheel. It was very confusing. "This is definitely the land of dreams, no doubt about that," groaned Joe, wondering whether the ship would turn into next. "The awful part is, we're awake, and yet we're having dream-like things happening to us." An enormous wave splashed over everyone. Frannie gave a scream. The ship rocked backwards and forwards, to and fro, and everyone clung tightly to one another. "Let's land somewhere, for goodness sake," said Rick. "Heaven only knows what this ship will turn into next. A rocking horse? I should think, by the way, it's rocking backwards and forwards." And guess what? No sooner had Rick said that than it did turn into a rocking horse. Joe found himself holding on to the mane, and all the others clung together behind him. The water disappeared, and the rocking horse seemed to be rocking down a long road. "Let's get off," said Joe. "I don't like the way this thing keeps changing. Slip off, Moonface, and help the others down." It wasn't long before they were all standing in the road, feeling rather confused. The rocking horse went on rocking by itself down the road. As the children watched it, it changed into a large brown bear that scampered on its big paws. "Ha!" said Joe. "We got off just in time. Well, what are we going to do now?" A man came down the road carrying a green-covered tray on his head. He rang a bell. "Muffins! Fine muffins!" he shouted. "Muffins for sale!" "Ooh, I really feel as if I could eat a muffin," said Beth. "Hey, muffin man, we'll have 6 muffins, please." The muffin man stopped. He took down his tray from his head and uncovered it. And underneath were not muffins, but small kittens. The muffin man seemed to think they were muffins. He handed one to each of the surprised children, one to Moonface and Saucepan Man. Then he covered up his tray again and went down the road, ringing his bell. "Well, does he think we can eat kittens?" said Beth. "Oh, but aren't they dear little things? What are we going to do with them?" "They seem to be growing," said Joe in surprise. And so they were. A minute or two the kittens were too heavy to carry, and they were as big as cats. They still went on growing, and soon they were as big as tigers. They played around the children, who were really rather afraid of them. "Now listen," said Joe to the enormous kittens. "You belong to the muffin man. You go after him and get him onto his tray where you belong. Listen, you can still hear his bell. Go now." To everyone's surprise and delight, the great animals ran off down the road after the muffin man. "He will get a surprise," said Rick with a giggle. "Hey, don't let's buy anything from anyone else. It's a bit too risky." What we really should do is try and find the hole that leads to this land, to the faraway tree, said Joe seriously. Surely you don't want to stay in this peculiar land forever? Gosh, we never know what is happening from one minute to the next. I feel very sleepy again, said Moonface, yawning. Oh, I do wish I could go to bed. Just as he said that, there came a clippety-cloppety noise from behind him, and they all turned around, and to their amazement saw a big white bed following them, trotting along on 4 fat legs. Gosh, said Rick, stopping in surprise. Look at that bed. Where did it come from? The bed stopped just by them. Moonface yawned. Oh, I'd like to cuddle down in you and go to sleep, he said to one bed. The bed creaked as if it was pleased. Moonface climbed into it. It was soft and cosy. Moonface put his head on the pillow and shut his eyes and began to snore gently. This made everyone else feel tired and sleepy too. One by one, they climbed into the big bed and laid down. The bed creaked in a very happy way. Then it went on its way, clippety-cloppeting down on its 4 fat legs, taking the 6 sleepers with it. Now, what happened to Silky? Well, she went and found Dame Washalot, Mr. What's-his-name, and the angry pixie, and had told them how the others had fallen asleep in the land of dreams. Oh, goodness heavens, they'll never get away from there, said What's-his-name anxiously. We must rescue them. Come along. Dame Washalot put a wash-tub of water on her head. The angry pixie picked up a kettle of water. What's-his-name didn't take anything. They all went up the ladder to the top of the tree. The land of dreams is still here, said Silky when her head peeped over the top. I can't see that horrid Sandman anywhere. Now's a good chance to slip up and rescue the others. Come on. And up they all went. They stared around the field of poppies, and they couldn't see any of the others. We must hunt for them, said Silky. Oh, look at that great brown bear rushing along. I wonder if he knows anything about the others. She called out to him, but he didn't stop. He made a noise like a chicken and rushed off. The 4 of them wandered on, and suddenly they saw something very puzzling coming towards them, something white and wide. Whatever can it be? Said Silky in wonder. Goodness me, it's a bed. And so it was, the very bed in which the 4 children and Moonface and Saucepan were asleep. Oh, look, squealed Silky. They're all here. Wake up, sillies, wake up. But they wouldn't wake up. They just sighed a little and turned over. Nothing that Silky and the others could do would wake them up. And in the middle of all this, there came footsteps behind them. Silky turned round and gasped, It's the Sandman. Don't let him throw his sand into your eyes or you will go to sleep too. Quick, do something. The Sandman had already dipped his hand into a big sack to throw sand into their eyes. But quick as lightning, Dame Washalot picked up her washtub and threw it all over the sack. It wetted the sand so that the Sandman couldn't throw it properly. Then the angry pixie emptied his kettle over the Sandman himself and began to choke and splutter. What's-his-name stared. He suddenly took out his small pocket scissors and cut a hole in the bottom of the sack. The sand was dry there. What's-his-name took a handful of it and threw it at the spluttering Sandman's eyes. Now, you go to sleep for a bit, shouted What's-his-name, and of course that's just what the big Sandman did. He sank down under a bush and shut his eyes. His sleepy sand acted on him as much as it had on everyone else. "Now we've got a chance," said Silky, pleased. "Help me to wake everyone up." But you know, they just would not wake up. It was impossible. "Well, we can't possibly get the bed down the hole," said Silky in despair. Then a bright idea came to her. She felt in Joe's pockets. She turned out the little blue and pink jar of whiz-away ointment. "There might be just a little left," she said. And there was the very tiniest dab. "I hope it's enough," said Silky. "Get on the bed, Dame Washalot, and you others. I'm going to try a little magic. Ready?" She rubbed the dab of ointment onto the head of the bed. "Whiz away home, bed," she said. And wow, the big white bears whizzed away. It whizzed away so fast that Silky nearly fell off. It rushed through the air, giving all the birds a dreadful scare. After a long time, it came to the end of the land of dreams. A big white cloud stretched out over the edge, and the bed flew it down and down, and then flew in another direction. "It's going back to the faraway tree, I'm sure," said Silky. And so it was. It arrived there and tried to get through the branches. It stuck on one and slid sideways, and everyone began to slide off. "Wake up! Wake up!" squealed Silky, shaking the children and Moonface and Saucepan. They woke up in a hurry, as they were no longer in dreamland. They felt themselves falling and caught hold of branches and twigs. "Where are we?" cried Wick. "What's happened?" "Oh, goodness, too many things to tell you all at once," said Silky. "Is everyone safe? Then for goodness sake come into my house and sit down for a bit. I feel quite out of breath." And that's the end of chapter 10. The next chapter is chapter 11, Up the Tree Again. So it looks like they're going on another adventure. I wonder what would happen in your land of dreams. Perhaps you could write a comment or draw me a picture. See you next time. Bye.